Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world, with me Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar launches BRICS 2026 website, logo and theme in New Delhi today as India assumed BRICS presidency on January the 1st. EAM says India will bring together countries for global welfare. Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi addresses the media at annual press conference, says Operation Sindoor remains ongoing and a future misadventure will be resolutely responded to. US Embassy for Iran warns American citizens to exit the country without delay as nationwide unrest continues to escalate. Meanwhile, Trump announces 25% of tariff on countries doing business with Iran. And 28-year-old Hindu auto rickshaw driver Sameer Kumar Das brutally murdered in Bangladesh's Feni district. Investigation currently underway. Good afternoon to all the viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest, Iran's nationwide protests entered third week with hundreds reported dead and thousands arrested as President Donald Trump considers military and non-military options and Tehran warns against US intervention. Trump said countries that do business with Tehran will face a new 25% tariff. Iran earlier said it is ready to talk with the US but is prepared for war as well. Meanwhile, nationwide shutdown of the internet by Iranian authorities has now lasted for over 108 hours. Our next report gets you more details. Take a look.
Protests in Iran sparked by the nation's struggling economy after years of international sanctions have resulted in hundreds of deaths, drawing the condemnation of human rights organizations. Human rights activists news agency has put the death toll at more than 600. It adds that more than 10,000 people have been detained. The Iranian government announced a 3-day nationwide mourning period from Monday to honor police officers, security personnel and civilians killed during the disturbances. The internet and other communications remain largely cut off, which has made it difficult to track the full scope of the movement. Iran has claimed full control of the country after 2 weeks of violent unrest, pinning the blame of unrest on US and Israel.
At present, our security forces have full control in all cities across the country. There is also complete intelligence dominance. Highly valuable information has been obtained from terrorist elements inside the country and their contact abroad. We know in which countries the planning meetings took place, and we will reveal that in due course.
Tehran has indicated that it was keeping communication channels with Washington open as President Trump considered how to respond to Iran's deadly crackdown on nationwide protests. US President Donald Trump reaffirmed that Iran wants to negotiate but warned that he may still carry out strikes against the country over its violent crackdown on protests.
Well, I think one thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table. And airstrikes would be one of the many, many options that are on the table for the commander-in-chief. Diplomacy is always the first option for the president. He's told all of you last night that what you're hearing publicly from the Iranian regime is quite differently from the messages the administration is receiving privately. And I think the president has an interest in exploring those messages. However, with that said, the president has shown he's unafraid to use military options if and when he deems necessary, and nobody knows that better than Iran.
The US is also intensifying economic stranglehold on Iran. On Monday, Trump said that countries doing business with Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. The United States Virtual Embassy in Iran issued an advisory for American citizens to leave Iran now. In its advisory, the embassy said that the protests across the country are escalating and could turn violent, leading to arrests, injuries and severe disruptions to daily life. Anamika Pandey's report, DD India.
China said on Monday that it opposed any illicit unilateral sanctions and long-term jurisdiction after US President Donald Trump posted on social media that nations doing business with Iran will face a 25% tariff on US trade. Chinese embassy in Washington said on X that China is against the indiscriminate imposition of tariffs and will take all necessary measures to safeguard its interests. Minnesota and Illinois have filed lawsuits against the Trump administration seeking to halt a surge of federal immigration officers. This legal move follows a week of tragedy and rising tension in Minneapolis, where the fatal shooting of a mother of 3 by an ICE officer sparked mass protests.
Minnesota and Illinois have filed lawsuit against the Trump administration. The dual lawsuits filed on Monday seek to immediately block a surge of federal immigration enforcement officers into both states. Minnesota has named Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and several immigration officials, asking a federal court to declare the surge both unconstitutional and unlawful.
We're filing against the United States Department of Homeland Security to end the unlawful, unprecedented surge of the federal law enforcement agents into Minnesota, because this has to stop. We ask the courts to end the DHS unlawful behavior in our state, the intimidation, the threats, the violence. We ask the courts to end the tactics on our places of worship, our schools, our courts, our marketplaces, our hospitals, and even funeral homes. The deployment of thousands of armed mass DHS agents to Minnesota has done our state serious harm. This is, in essence, a federal invasion of the Twin Cities and Minnesota, and it must stop.
The legal firestorm follows a week of unrest in Minnesota. Last week, an immigration and custom enforcement officer shot and killed 37-year-old Rennie Good. While the community mourns, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has sparked further outrage by accusing Rennie of domestic terrorism. In Minneapolis, the anger is palpable as anti-ICE protesters continue to hold demonstrations following the fatal shooting of Rennie Good. The Minnesota lawsuit seeks to ban U.S. officers from threatening to use physical force or brandishing weapons. It also requires federal officers to wear visible identification, activate body-worn cameras, and remove masks that conceal their faces. Illinois joined the legal fight with a similar federal lawsuit targeting the Trump administration's methods. The Illinois suit specifically asked the court to block U.S. Customs and Border Protection from conducting civil immigration enforcement within the state. It also seeks to ban controversial tactics, including the use of tear gas, trespassing on private property, and the practice of concealing license plates to mask official operations. 4 migrants died while in custody of U.S. immigration authorities over the first 10 days of 2026 under President Donald Trump. The administration aims to ramp up deportations and has increased the number of migrants in detention. As of January 7th, ICE was detaining 69,000 people. The numbers were expected to rise following a massive ICE funding infusion passed by the U.S. Congress last year. Bureau Report, DD India.
The U.S. State Department said on Monday it has revoked more than 100,000 visas since President Trump took office last year. The extent of the revocations reflects the broad immigration crackdown initiated when Trump returned to the White House last year, deporting an unprecedented number of migrants, including some who held valid visas. The administration has also adopted a stricter policy on granting the visas, with tightened social media vetting and expanded screening. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Tommy Pygott said the 4 leading causes for revocations were overstays, driving under the influence, assault, and theft. The revocations marked a 150% increase from 2024, he said. The State Department has also launched a continuous vetting center aimed at ensuring all foreign nationals on American soil comply with the laws and that the visas of those who pose a threat to American citizens are swiftly revoked. Moving on. Well, there has been no power vacuum in Venezuela. Days after the US raid on Maduro's bunker in Caracas, the country has continued to function. Calm has prevailed and Delcy Rodriguez is at the helm. While the acting president reaffirmed sovereignty amid Trump's claims, the opposition leader and Nobel Prize winner Machado is set to meet Trump in Washington on Thursday. Our next report gets you all the details. Take a look. Venezuelan opposition figure Maria Corina Machado will meet President Donald Trump on Thursday. The development came even as pressure grew on the interim leadership in Caracas to speed up the release of political prisoners. Venezuela, meanwhile, announced that it had freed 116 more people jailed under Maduro. Rights group questioned the numbers and family members clamored for speedier releases promised by Caracas under pressure from Washington. Machado visited the Vatican on Monday, where she met Pope Leo and asked him to intercede for all Venezuelans who remain kidnapped and disappeared. Meanwhile, acting President Delcy Rodriguez reaffirmed country's sovereignty and independence, saying she is the actual leader of the nation.
Well, we ratify and reaffirm Venezuela's sovereignty and independence. I have seen there around cartoons on Wikipedia asking, who rules in Venezuela? Well, here there's a government ruling in Venezuela. Here there's an acting president and a hostage president in the United States. We rule along with the organized people, along with the popular power, and move forward in the international relations with respect for the international law to reclaim and protect the rights of our beloved Venezuela.
Rodriguez's comments came after Trump shared on social media a fake Wikipedia profile of himself as the acting president of Venezuela on his platform Truth Social. However, the Washington has so far backed Rodriguez in her recent role.
I think the last week has shown that the president made the right, realistic assessment of what needed to take place in Venezuela at this moment in time. And the interim authorities and Delcy Rodriguez and her team have been very cooperative with the United States and the president and his team, as evidenced by the massive energy deal that the president was able to cut with the interim authorities, their commitment to release Venezuelan political prisoners, which we also saw last week. So we've seen a great level of cooperation, and the president expects that to continue.
U.S. envoys visited Caracas last week to discuss the reopening of Washington's embassy there 7 years after diplomatic ties were severed. Machado was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last year and dedicated it to Trump, who has made no secret of his frustration at being passed over for the award. Bureau Report, DD India. And now let's talk about the ongoing Iran crisis. And to get you a rounded perspective on this, I'm joined by Mr. D.P. Srivastav, who is the former Indian ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here on DD India News Hour. Well, to talk about
Good afternoon.
Iran has said that it is ready for war, but it is also open to negotiations as well after Trump's warnings. What is it that Iran is expecting from the US in order to agree to a common solution?
Iran had made clear earlier also that they are prepared to go back to the nuclear deal, which was agreed by the US, by President Obama in 2016. US had walked out of this deal in 2018 under President Trump's first administration. During the second administration, negotiations were resumed, but just a day before the sixth round, Israel attacked Iran. Now, if there is a possibility of resuming negotiations, this must be welcome, because a war or military intervention is not in the interest of any side. We must remember that this region has seen very challenging times since Hamas attack on Israel, which must be condemned in 2023. And Gaza situation remains unsettled. Lebanon situation and Syria situation is still uncertain. And if there's uncertainty also in Iran, this might affect oil prices, because unlike Gaza war or war in Lebanon, Iran sits next to the Persian Gulf, which accounts for 17 to 20% of world's oil supply. So it is hoped that both sides will opt for negotiations to bring down the temperature instead of heading for a military confrontation.
But Trump has meanwhile also announced a 25% tariff on countries doing business with Tehran. Iran is already a crippling economy. We know the fact. Will this mount the needed pressure on Iran, or is it just going to be another roadblock in ensuring peace?
You are right. Iran is under such heavy sanctions that another set of sanctions are not going to make any difference, because the basic issue is oil. And Iran gets its revenues through oil exports, which are already under sanctions. So this is not going to make much difference. It's just a part of President Trump's technique of maximum pressure, of ratcheting up pressure. So let's see.
Right, and we are hoping for a common resolution to it. But on the other side, US fighter jets have increased activity at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and the presence of US military bases across West Asia is also very large, which means in case of anything addressed as a war, the situation can be really damaging for both the sides, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. And Iran has made clear that unlike the previous two occasions, when they gave advance warning to the US, this time they will hit at US bases, and US does have a very extensive presence, and I'm not sure how President Trump looks at this. In the past, he has avoided taking American casualties.
And now looking ahead, what do you think? Because there are negotiation possibilities which can take place between both the countries. But as a matter of fact, we are getting the constant numbers of all the deaths from Tehran and across Iran. What do you see? How do you see the latest possibility unfolding for a common solution on peace talks?
There are two different issues. One is Iran's internal situation, and as you mentioned, there are riots. Have been riots, and there's a genuine grievance because of the shortage of essential commodities. Iran is an oil exporting country, and sanctions have throttled its economy. Hence the shortages and the popular anger. But this is should be dealt by Iranian people and the Iranian government. So far as the external aspect is concerned, which is linked to the wider Middle East situation and previous confrontation between Israel and Iran, I think it is best that both sides step back from the precipice. I might mention that, in the oil prices have already started climbing in last 5 days. $1 increase in price of oil adds 14,000 crores to India's annual oil import bill. So this is not in the interest of any country. And incidentally, it's not simply a question of Iranian oil. Oil is a fungible commodity. So if there's a confrontation and Hormuz Strait accounts for 17% of world oil supply, there is no replacement for oil on such a large scale, and any escalation will not be simply limited to oil exporting countries from this region, but it will affect the entire world economy.
And hence dialogue and diplomacy remains the key. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and getting us the much needed rounded perspective on the ongoing protests in Iran. Moving on. French farmers drove hundreds of tractors into Paris on Tuesday, staging their second major protest in a week against the EU-Mercosur trade deal, which they say threatens local agriculture with cheaper imports from South America. The protests, led by the powerful farm union FNSEA, comes amid months of farmer unrest in France and across the European Union over the proposed agreement and broader domestic grievances. Police estimated around 350 tractors joined on Tuesday's demonstrations, with convoys converging near the Arc de Triomphe and outside the French Parliament. Pressure on the French government has intensified after most EU member states approved the Mercosur deal on Friday, despite France's opposition, prompting fresh political backlash and no confidence motions from the opposition. On to ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis, Russian forces unleashed the heaviest missile assault of the year on Ukraine early on Tuesday, targeting its two largest cities and leaving at least 4 people dead, while 6 people were injured in the northeastern city of Kharkiv. Kharkiv's mayor said a long-range Russian drone hit a children's medical facility, sparking fire. No casualties were reported there. In the capital, Kyiv, officials described a short but intense barrage of missile strikes. The overnight strikes also hit other regions, including the southern port city of Odessa. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi reaffirmed ties between their countries on Tuesday as nations look forward to bolster security and economic cooperation amid the ongoing international tensions. The leaders discussed denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, the fate of Japanese nationals abducted by North Korea, and cooperation in areas such as artificial intelligence and semiconductors. In a joint press conference after the summit, South Korean President emphasized the importance of close communications between the two nations over North Korean affairs. On to Bangladesh, atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh still continue. A 28-year-old Hindu auto rickshaw driver named Samir Kumar Das was brutally murdered in Bangladesh's Feni district on Sunday night, with assailants fleeing the scene with his vehicle. According to police and local sources, Samir Kumar Das, also known as Samir Chandra Das, was beaten and stabbed near the Dangapuya Upazila Health Complex. His battery-operated CNG auto rickshaw was taken by the attackers. Locals discovered his blood-soaked body at around 2 a.m. local time on Monday near Dakshin Karimpur Muhuri Padi and informed the police. The victim, a resident of Ramanandapur village, was the son of Kartik Kumar Das and Reena Rani Das. Family members said he'd been supporting his household by driving the auto rickshaw for several years and raised the alarm when he failed to return home by late afternoon on Sunday. Investigations are ongoing and efforts are being made out to identify and arrest those involved. And Naval Singh Parmar joins us from Bangladesh. Good afternoon. Tell us, what is the current status of the investigation procedure? Because this is yet another incident we are getting to know from Bangladesh against Hindus.
Well, this is the latest addition in the long list of minority Hindus in Bangladesh who lost their lives in last couple of weeks. Samir Kumar Das is one of them, and yesterday only the case surfaced. Police registered the case FIR and investigation is going on. There is no further detail available on the arrest or any motive. What was the motive behind the murder? Whether there was any communal angle or it was just theft or loot kind of thing or anything else, personal rivalry or just loot. But there is no official updates from the state as well as the police department. However, the list of the people who lost their lives in such kind of attack is big in Bangladesh. Almost every day, 2 to 3 people lost their lives, and this is the we are counting the minority list. And if we count it, then in last 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, around 10 to 12 people lost their lives. So law and order situation in Bangladesh is in a very poor condition. Police force is not able to control this such kind of violence and the crime, as there is no preventive mechanism in police force to control effective preventive mechanism available now. As election is approaching, the political violence is also increased, and things are coming in this way. What may next time?
And considering the worsening situation of law and order there in Bangladesh, and also considering the fact that the February elections are due in the upcoming month, what are the parties doing it? What are the authorities planning ahead of the elections?
Actually, now campaign phase started, and after the returning of Tariq Zia, he has consolidated its party-related some sort issue there were. He sorted out it, and he may plan his election campaign in the countryside, and he's starting his campaign from this Silat. At the same time, other political parties and Jamaat-e-Islami led alliance like NCP and Jamaat-e-Islami, they are also busy with their election campaign, and there are some issues with the political parties who are contesting this election in coalition. There are every day some issues comes, but they try to sort it out. But still, election campaign has not got the proper momentum, as the just 2 days back the form withdrawal and the scrutiny phase just completed. So now next week onward the momentum will be set up for the campaign, and it is scheduled. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us and getting us the latest straight from Bangladesh. Moving on to Australia. Australia will observe a National Day of Mourning on the 22nd of January to remember the 15 victims of the mass shooting at Bondi Beach, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced. The day will serve as a moment for grief following one of the country's deadliest acts of violence in recent years. Australia Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said on Monday that the Parliament would be recalled early next week to pass tougher hate speech and gun laws in the wake of the Bondi attack. Albanese said he wanted legislation to step up penalties for hate speech and authorize a gun buyback to pass the following day. The proposed laws will also ease visa denials on the ground of racial bigotry and lower threshold for banning hate organizations. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. United Nations High Commissioner Barham Saleh, on his first official refugee mission, urged stronger global support to help displaced people rebuild their lives. After visiting Kakuma in northern Kenya, he praised the country's decades-long generosity and far-sighted policies, granting refugees access to work, healthcare and education. The ancient city of Babylon is undergoing a transformative revival as major rehabilitation projects begin to bear the fruit. Once the center of the world's most powerful empire, the UNESCO World Heritage Site is successfully transitioning from a vulnerable monument to a thriving international and domestic tourism hub. Time for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Union Minister Ashwani Vaishnaw attends critical minerals ministerial meet in Washington. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth on 15th of January.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time to quickly recap top headlines of the hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar launches BRICS 2026 website, logo and theme in New Delhi today as India assumed BRICS presidency on January the 1st. EAM says India will bring together countries for global welfare. Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi addresses the media at annual press conference, says Operation Sindoor remains ongoing and a future misadventure will be resolutely responded to. US Embassy for Iran warns American citizens to exit the country without delay as nationwide unrest continues to escalate. Meanwhile, Trump announces 25% tariff on countries doing businesses with Iran. And 28-year-old Hindu auto rickshaw driver Sameer Kumar Das brutally murdered in Bangladesh's Feni district. Investigations underway. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today launched the official website and logo of India's BRICS Presidency 2026. Addressing the event, the minister said that the logo has a picture of lotus with a namaste as the core element, which depicts unity and diversity. He added that India's BRICS chairship will seek to bring together the potential of BRICS countries for greater global welfare, inspired by the guidance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Dr. S. Jaishankar also said that India's chairship theme, Building for Resilience, Innovation, Cooperation and Sustainability, reflects the belief that cooperation among BRICS members can help address shared challenges in a balanced and an inclusive manner.
The theme underscores the importance of strengthening capacities, promoting innovation, and ensuring sustainable development for the benefit of all. The logo that we unveiled today reflects this approach. It combines elements of tradition and modernity, and the petals incorporate the colors of all BRICS member countries, representing unity in diversity and a strong sense of shared purpose. The logo conveys the idea that BRICS draws strength from the collective contributions of its members while respecting their distinct identities.
And to give you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Akhilesh Suman. Good afternoon. Well, crucial year for India as it assumes the presidency of BRICS in 2026 that also completes its 20 years. The logo has been carefully carved out, keeping in mind the goals of India. Tell us the key highlights of the logo and the theme of this year.
People understand that BRICS was never so relevant as it is now because of the challenges put forward by Mr. Donald Trump, the US president. The emerging economies all over the world and global south, they are also thinking that, if there can be a cooperation in an alternative way. And in that way, I think today's launching of BRICS logo and BRICS theme is very relevant. The whole, as External Affairs Minister said, that, there are multicolored lotus flower and its petals, resemble colors of different countries. So in that way, BRICS that says that, multipolarity is the key in the world after World War II. And if multipolarity has to sustain, it has to sustain by none other than the countries involved with the BRICS. And that today there are 11 members of BRICS, including Saudi Arabia. So in that way, BRICS is not earlier BRIC that was Brazil, India, China, and Russia. But now it has gained momentum, and from BRICS, including South Africa, and now it has become 11 member countries. So I think that it is now the largest group that constitutes the largest number of population in the world. And in that way, BRICS theme is quite relevant because it is telling about sustainability, it is telling about resilience, it is telling about cooperation. And India's presidency is also telling that it is for working for humanity. So in that way, the intra-BRICS cooperation will be very relevant. Intra-BRICS cooperation in place of intra-BRICS conflict. So in place of conflict, if you increase cooperation, you can face challenges from other quarters of the world. And that all these countries are fast-growing economies, and the whole world, future depend on the population of these countries, because these are the countries which gives maximum strength to the world economy, because they also migrate to the developed economy and they help in developing those economies. So in that way, BRICS logo and BRICS theme is quite relevant in today's world.
Also tell us how important the BRICS presidency is for the country, India, considering the fact that India now stands as an important partner at global diplomatic platform.
India is the largest largest population in the world, and India is also the largest economy in the world. As far as open market is concerned, I'm telling about the open market. It is the largest open market, transparent market, and also it is the largest democracy. So in that way, these three things gives India strength to share its experiences with the world. like if you consider the digital economy platform that India has created. Now, this platform has given tremendous boost to India's internal trade. India's internal retail economy. It has increased the purchasing capacity, consumption dynamics. So I think that this is one of the experiences India can share with the growing economies of the world, that how in place of hard currency, you can use this soft technology, so that even in coldest of the season, even in the hottest of the season, you can buy, you can purchase, you can transact. So in that way, India's India's experience is quite relevant to the BRICS. And in this summit, as the External Affairs Minister was telling, that he wants to share all this knowledge with the member countries, with the friendly countries who want to utilize it. So in that way, India's presidency will be very important, and India's diplomatic capital that it has gained over the period of time, that it tells now that dialogue and diplomacy should be the way to resolve issues of contradiction between the two countries. So I think that in today's world, when there are conflict in many parts of the world, India's standing is very unique, and India's standing is that tolerate other forces that differ with you. Talk to them if you have any difference. So I think India's presidency will give much more to the in the coming days than it was giving earlier in other BRICS economies, because now we are one step ahead. After G20, we are getting another chance to host many of the important economies in the world in India. So I think it will be a very interesting time to see that how.
And especially as the voice of the Global South. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us all the latest on this new development. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth on January the 15th in the Central Hall of Samvidhan Sadan Parliament House Complex. Addressing a press conference, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, who is the chairperson of the conference, said that the conference will discuss shared parliamentary values, democratic governance and institutional cooperation. CSPOC is being hosted by the Parliament of India from 14th till the 16th of January, and it will be the largest in terms of participation. The conference will be attended by 61 speakers and presiding officers from Commonwealth countries and semi-autonomous parliaments, including the presidents of the Inter-Parliamentary Union and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Chief of Defence Staff Lieutenant General Anil Chauhan and Service Chiefs Lieutenant General Upendra Dwivedi, Admiral Dinesh Tripathi and Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh paid homage to the fallen soldiers at the National War Memorial in Delhi on the 78th Army Day on Tuesday. Ceremonial proceedings were held and the CDS service chiefs paid their tributes and laid wreaths at the memorial. The Indian Army has sent out a clear warning and reassurance. Speaking at the annual Army Day press conference in New Delhi, Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi said Operation Sindoor is ongoing and any future misadventure will be met with a decisive response.
As you may be aware, Operation Sindoor remains ongoing. Any future misadventure will be resolutely responded to. Here I must acknowledge the proactive role of all stakeholders at the national level, including CAPFs, int-agencies, civic bodies, state administration and other ministries, whether it's MHA, Maiti, Railways and many more. Operation Sindoor was the best example of tri-service synergy under clear-cut political directive and full freedom to act or respond.
On the security front, General Dwivedi said situation along the Western Front and in Jammu and Kashmir remains sensitive but firmly under control.
Since 10th May, the situation along the Western Front and J&K remains sensitive but firmly under control. In 2025, 31 terrorists were eliminated, of which 65% were Pakistan origin, including the 3 perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack neutralized in Operation Mahadev. Active local terrorists are now in single digits. Terrorist recruitment is almost non-existent, only 2 in 2025.
Union Minister for Electronics and IT, Ashwini Vaishnaw, attended the Critical Minerals Ministerial Meet in Washington on Monday. The meeting was hosted by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Vaishnaw highlighted the importance of building a resilient supply chain to support India's expanding electronics and manufacturing sectors. Take a listen.
As we all know, and especially in India, when the manufacturing sector is growing rapidly, especially electronics manufacturing, it's very important for all the countries, including India, to have a resilient supply chain of critical minerals. So in this meeting, participants from various countries, they discussed their experience, the steps that they are taking in making the supply chain resilient, especially technology for refining, processing the mineral ores so that high quality critical minerals, especially the rare earth, permanent magnets, those kind of materials can be secured in a long term, in a sustainable manner.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was in Bengaluru on Tuesday, which was the second day of his two-day official visit to India before emplaning for Germany. During his visit to the Indian IT city, Merz, along with his delegation, visited the Indian headquarters of German tech major Bosch at Adugodi. The visiting Chancellor also visited the Centre for Nanoscience and Engineering at the renowned Indian Institute of Science. So, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was on a two-day visit to India, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted him for political talks in Ahmedabad on Monday, and there was a visit to Sabarmati Ashram. But, of course, business is on everybody's mind first and foremost. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Good afternoon, Lars. What are the reactions in Germany to Chancellor Merz's visit in India?
Thanks for having me. They're really all around positive. For one newspaper, it was the giant flags all across Ahmedabad that welcomed Merz to India and that gave him, in their opinion, a warm and very impressive welcome. Others have looked a bit deeper and saw it as a good sign that the Chancellor's first Asia trip actually did lead to India and not to China, as had been tradition in the past. It's a huge move towards dealing with new geopolitical realities. For Germany and for other countries in the EU, China has long been the most important partner in Asia, but as that relationship has been changing, India seems to be taking over the favorite spot here. And for good reason. Germans generally have a positive view of India as the world's largest democracy, as a country with very high levels of education, not least, of course, in future technologies. But most importantly, maybe at the surface of it all, is the fact that trade between Germany and India, while already strong, can definitely be increased.
Also tell us, how does Germany envision business relations with India in future?
Well, first of all, there's hope that trade is generally growing. Now, seen from India, Germany is already the country's largest trading partner within the EU. But seen from the German point of view, India only comes in 23rd on the list of major trade partners. So that alone allows for a lot of growth in future. And that is supposed to come from different sectors. Among the 27 memorandums of understanding signed now are some regarding rare earth developments. There's projects to bring Indian job seekers to Germany. And then, of course, defense is one sector that's been central to current talks during this trip. India, of course, is the world's largest defense importer, and Germany wants to supply more. One project now signed. Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems in Mumbai wants to build 6 new submarines, a deal valued at 8 billion euros.
All right, thank you so much, Lars, for joining us and getting us all the latest on Germany Chancellor's visit to India. Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addressed the inaugural ceremony of the Multi-Speciality Joint Services Medical Camp in Lakshadweep through a video conference. Speaking on the occasion, the Defence Minister said this large-scale medical camp being organised by the Indian Navy highlights the government's commitment to bringing quality healthcare closer to citizens in remote areas.
यह कैंप देश के हर नागरिक तक, खासतौर पर रिमोट एंड आइलैंड टेरिटरीज में रहने वाले लोगों तक बेहतर स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं पहुंचाने की हमारी कमिटमेंट को दिखाता है। मैं रिमोट एंड आइलैंड टेरिटरीज में रहने वाले अपने नागरिकों से यह कहना चाहता हूं कि आपकी वेल बीइंग की जिम्मेदारी सरकार पूरी जिम्मेदारी के साथ निभा रही है। इस मेडिकल कैंप के माध्यम से आर्म्ड फोर्सेस मेडिकल सर्विसेज की ट्राई सर्विसेज टीम एडवांस्ड डायग्नोस्टिक फैसिलिटीज़ और स्पेशलिस्ट केयर सीधे लोगों के डोर स्टेप तक लेकर पहुंची है।
The launch and culmination of Inspiring Innovators, Nai Bharat Ki Nai Pehchan, a unique initiative showcasing short films on 8 social innovation startups from across the country, took place on Tuesday. Speaking on the occasion, Secretary of Information and Broadcasting Sanjay Jaju said that social entrepreneurs are addressing issues many people are often unaware about and expressed his gratitude for their impactful work.
The most important thing was, there are so many innovations happening, and the PSA office does monitor all these innovations. And when you look at these innovations, I realized, there's so much happening in our country which we do not know. And there are so many people who are all like social entrepreneurs, who are really solving people's problems. You are solving the problems which many of us not even aware of, because, we come to know of a problem only when we are personally affected by it. But indeed, you guys would have had multiple options of doing businesses, but you chose this line to become a social entrepreneur, and my kudos and gratitude to each one of you.
Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Dr. L. Murugan, also said that how the media and the entertainment industry is rapidly growing with startups and highlighted Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of creativity. Take a listen.
This media and entertainment industry, we are witnessing how it is very fastly growing with the startups. Our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision, he's posted an ecosystem of innovation and creativity in the last 12 years.
The Trump administration's decision to open a criminal investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell drew condemnation from former Fed chiefs and a chorus of criticism from key members of Trump's Republican Party on Monday, following an unusually sharp public rebuke from Powell calling the move a pretext to win presidential influence over interest rates. Powell, who was nominated by Donald Trump to lead the Fed in late 2017 and confirmed by the Senate to the position in early 2018, will complete his term as the Fed chief in May, but he is not obligated to leave its Washington-based Board of Governors until 2028. The criminal indictment threat emerged about 2 weeks before Trump's efforts to fire another Fed official, Governor Lisa Cook, who will be argued before the Supreme Court. You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest action from the world of sports. To begin with badminton. India's top badminton stars are in focus, with Aegis Pranoy leading the nation's challenge in India Open 2026. Still searching for consistency this season, Pranoy says he's also looking at taking up a mentorship role in the coming years, following in the footsteps of his compatriots. DD India's Taposh Bhattacharya brings you this exclusive conversation. Take a look.
Joining me is Aegis Pranoy, a veteran Indian badminton player. So, India Open happening, and that too in a new venue, new place. How do you see this impacting the players and the whole atmosphere?
I think it's good. Always upgrading to a bigger stadiums are always nice for the fans also. I think there's a lot of space out there to kind of enjoy the game. It's really exciting this week and to know that we have World Championships happening after 4-5 months in the same stadium, which is going to be even more bigger out there. So this is going to be an exciting week.
I wanted to ask you about that. 17 years later, it's coming here. I remember I was there at the first time in 2009 when it happened. You were there as a peak, this young person. Now, you're the senior most person. You're shepherding your team, Indian players. We were looking up to you also. How do you see the thing coming out and the shaping up for the World Championship as well?
I've been there in the last 17 years of playing, and to have an opportunity, probably in the next few months, I still don't know if I will be in there to get a chance to play, but I think for the rest of the players out there, this is just going to be an unbelievable experience out there, and for the sport, to be honest, I think it is going to get to the next stage where people are going to follow the sport much more, and there should be a lot of hype around the sport, and there would be a lot of new kids who will come seeing all this, who will be interested to play badminton.
Do we see you graduating to a mentorship role, a role where you can direct the young chaps coming in the circuit?
Yes, I think going ahead in the next couple of years, that's there. I think it's good that players are coming back. I think association is helping. I think SAI is helping for that process. And obviously going forward, I really want to kind of help our youngsters to kind of get to a space where they're able to play at the top 30s. What I feel right now is there is a lot of promising youngsters out there, but they don't know how the way is to kind of get to the top 30s, top 10, you be there. They don't know that way out. So probably I might come in handy out there at that place, and I can help them to kind of structure their entire career. So I'm really looking forward to that.
So that was HS Pranay stating that he's all looking forward to not just the India Open, but also the World Championship that will take place in a few months' time. With camera person Anand Kumar, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for TD India from Delhi.
Shooting League of India marked a key milestone with the launch of its third franchisee, UP Prometheans, in Noida, in the presence of senior NRAI officials and prominent shooters. The league will bring together top Indian and international shooters in a mixed team format across pistol, rifle and shotgun disciplines. TD India's Narayan Singh reports.
The Shooting League of India on Monday officially launched its third team franchise, UP Prometheans in Noida, marking another important step in strengthening the professional structure of shooting sports in the country. The launch ceremony was attended by several prominent names from Indian shooting, including National Rifle Association of India President Kalikesh Singh Deo and NRAI Secretary General Pawan Kumar Singh, along with veteran shooter Ranjan Sodhi and Asian Games gold medalist Akhil Sheeran.
I think Shooting League of India is going to be a game changer for shooting sports in India as well as world over. I mean, there's never been an attempt before this to have a private partnership with the federations to come up with a commercially viable shooting league, and this is the first of its kind in the world.
We are getting all the support from all the from International Shooting Federation, from State Association and all the clubs, even all the countries. So everyone is welcoming this idea, the shooting league. There is a chance for the newcomers where they can come, they can show their talent, and with that talent, NRA is nurturing that talent.
The Shooting League of India is designed to bring together top Indian and international shooters on one platform, with the competition to be held in a mixed team format across pistol, rifle and shotgun disciplines, giving fans a comprehensive view of the sport.
This event is going to be a game changer because we didn't have any kind of platform where the normal audience can connect with the sports, but this will be that event where the audience can understand what kind of a sports, and not only the sports but athlete will also get a recognition by the audience and they can showcase their performances.
The league will feature team events in multiple categories, including 10-meter and 25-meter pistol, 10-meter and 50-meter three-position rifle, as well as trap and skeet in the shotgun segment, ensuring wide representation of Olympic shooting events. For the league stage, teams will be divided into two pools, with the best performing sides advancing to the knockout rounds, adding intensity and excitement to the competition.
Shooting League of India is a revolutionary initiative in the world of shooting. It has international shooters, Indian shooters and the junior shooters of India too.
So it is giving an opportunity to everyone. And definitely it will take the Indian shooting at the next level. With camera person Manmohan, Narayan Singh, DD India, Noida.
Now, Australian captain Eliza Healy has announced her decision to retire from all forms of cricket in March after the team's home series with India. Eliza made her debut as a teenager, embarking on a legendary career that spanned for more than 15 years. She's played nearly 300 matches across all the formats, scoring more than 7,000 runs and taking 275 wickets. Taking over as the captain in 2023, Healy famously led the side to a historic Ashes whitewash against England in 2025. One of the most destructive batters and finest wicketkeepers in world cricket, she's been part of 8 World Cup titles. The February-March series with India will feature 3 T20s, 2 ODIs and a one-off test in Perth. Healy will only play the ODI and the tests. And after Australian women's team captain announced to retire, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said Healy had been instrumental in the rise of women's sport. He posted on social media platform X, and I quote him here. Eliza Healy is a true legend of Australian cricket. As a batter, keeper and captain, she has been one of the brightest stars in a golden era. Yet, Eliza's impact and example off the field has been every bit as important. She's helped drive and grow women's cricket and inspired a new generation along the way. Congratulations, Eliza, and thank you, unquote. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour.